What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We're back at it with more Run 8. We're going to do some more railroading today and see about continuing the 544 north towards Gay. Gay is going to be the end of the High Rail Simulations Fitzgerald DLC on the Manchester sub. So it has the Fitzgerald sub, right, which is 201 miles. And then it has a little bit of the Manchester sub up to Gay. It has a little bit of the Lineville sub over to Campground. So it is a really nice route with a litle bit of lead in on the north end as well too. So if you remember on our last video, we met the Q685 here at Ideal, and I think we should be good to go. Let's go ahead and hop in the cab. If it'll let us. Well, it's doing that weird bug that I keep getting every once in a while. All right, there we go. We're in the cab. Loose ends that we need to take care of. I think we already have auto going. Let's double check that. Yeah, auto is going. Everything looks good on that. Let's go ahead and do the reverser forward. Get our headlights on bright. So let's dial up auto. So let's go channel 14. There we go, channel 14, and let's do star 5 DTMF to call up the dispatcher and let him know that we are ready to go. See what he has to say. Get this turned down a little bit. Yes, dispatcher, we'd like a light here at Ideal if you can, please. Acknowledge CR 6503. There we go. Got a medium clear out of the siding, so I think we should be good to go. We're on flat ground, so we don't have the big brake applied. All we got some independent. Let's go ahead and release it. We'll ease it off a little bit here. There we go. Nice. All right, we rolling. At least the rain slacked off. You remember we rolled up into siding in the last video. It was raining on us. All right, so this is a 25-mile-an-hour siding, so we have to pull out of here at 25. Our rear end is moving. So we're good on that. Comm is okay. And we'll be on our way. This is probably one of the more challenging sections of the route for us. It really isn't going to be too bad. It's predominantly uphill from Ideal to Malk, basically. There's a little stair step just to the south of Malk, but it's, for the most part, it's pretty much uphill. So I say challenging as far as like it being a fairly decent grade that we're going to have to tackle, but I still think like the stretch through dueling is probably one of the more challenging to run, like operationally, as far as like using your power and your brakes and stuff like that. But it won't be too bad. We're like 1.9 HPT, so we should tackle that grade no problem whatsoever. That's going to be the big grade. Ideal, or basically Rupert to Malk, is going to be the steepest section of the grade, but it's pretty much climbing from Ideal to Rupert. And then the next grade that we'll have to tackle after that will be the climb into Manchester from like the Big Laser up to, or Big Liza up to Manchester, that grade. Up over, oh, what's the mountain called? I'm drawing a complete and total blank. Pine Mountain, up Pine Mountain. So shouldn't be too bad. All right, let's go ahead, give a little bit more throttle. Let's go ahead and count off. So no, we're out of our 25 back there. And we'll get our view over just a little bit here. Nice. All right, let's keep going. Love Ideal. Ideal is another nice little area on the route. I really do enjoy it. It's got several little areas along this route. They're just nice areas. They're just like really cool little areas along the railroad. And they really scream like Central Georgia, right? To me, at least. All right, there we go. We're almost 25. We still got quite a bit of train behind us still in the siding we'll have to drag out. So yeah, our big climb up to Malk. Luckily, we're a northbound train. As I've said in previous videos, northbound tonnage was always a little bit less than the southbound tonnage. You know, I kind of look at Florida more as like a consumer state than a big producer or a big manufacturer. You know, it's kind of a touristy state. There's a lot of tourist industry and stuff like that down there. So most of the tonnage ran into Florida, but not as much coming out. It's not like it's half the tonnage going in. It wasn't like that. It's maybe a third less or something like that. It was a little bit. But if you think about it, you know, you had heavy tonnage going into Florida as far as like coal trains, right? You had a lot of coal trains going down there during this time period, which is supposed to be the early 2000s. Get through this crossing here. A lot of tonnage as far as coal going down, empties coming out, right? So that would be one where you had tonnage going in and empties coming out. Another one would be automotive. Your Q213, your Q215, those were loads going in. All the auto rack trains that I can think of coming out of Baldwin, out of Florida, were all empty. Your Q214, Q220, Q230, trains like that, they were all empty. I did, when I worked on the railroad back in the early 2000s, I did see some auto rack trains come out of Florida loaded. One in particular that I remember getting called for late one evening. It was like an X100 or something like that. It was really weird. It was a northbound auto rack. I didn't know that at the time. All I know is I was just called for an X100, and the crew caller told me, he said, the road foreman of engines is going to be riding with you. And I was like, what is that about? Like, why is he going to be going with us? So, all right, we're out of the site. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. And we should be good to go. Let's go ahead and get Shift F8. So I said, road foreman engine is going to be riding with you, and that's all I knew. So I get to my terminal, and not only is the road foreman of engines not there, but it's a completely different engineer than what they had originally had me set up with. Now, luckily, it was an engineer I absolutely love working with, so that was good. So I asked the engineer, I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, well, we got a loaded auto rack train. And I got to kind of thumbing through the paper as we were sitting there, the paperwork. The train was out of a place called, I'll call it Blunt Island in Jacksonville. It's a port, one of the ports down there. And it was nothing but import Mercedes on this train. We had like 70 or 80 cars, all of them, every single one, Mercedes on it. It had come from, I guess, from somewhere, maybe Germany or somewhere, on a ship, and they offloaded them at Blunt Island and loaded them on auto racks, and then we were taking them up to the BNSF in Birmingham, and from that point the BNSF was going to take them to Los Angeles. So I thought that was really cool, like a train of nothing but Mercedes, and that's why the road foreman of engines was going to ride with us. But supposedly they got this other engineer, the one that I like so much. He had probably 30 years of service at least by that time, or close to it. They got him to run the train, and I guess the road foreman with engines was like, well, if this guy is going to run the train, then I don't need to go because I have nothing to worry about, right? So that is the only instance I can think of auto rack loads coming out of Florida. I think they did run those from time to time back then, but that was the only one that I ever caught. So that would be another one. Predominantly automobiles going into Florida, empties coming out. Other unit trains, molting sulfur going into Florida, down into the Bone Valley, empties coming out, right? Grain going down into Florida to the feed mills, empties coming out. And that doesn't include all your box freight and stuff like that that was going down there with mostly empties coming out. The big tonnage producer coming out of Florida, it still may be now, but it definitely was back then, was phosphate, right? Phosphate was the heavy trains that came out of Florida. Those were by far like the heaviest northbound trains that we ever ran. So that gives you a little bit of idea of like what the tonnage was like, how there's a little bit of difference between southbound and northbound tonnage, to the point where like Waycross would wind up with more engines down there than they needed. They would have a lot of power on the southbound trains because they'd have more tonnage. The grades are pretty much the same, like it's pretty much 1% north and south, but with the tonnage difference, they needed more engines going south than they did north. So Waycross would wind up with extra power down there. And during that time, we would run a train called X001 that was nothing but engines. It was a light engine move out of Waycross. For that particular train went to Birmingham. So that was pretty cool. All right, coming through Southland here. I love this area. It's a nice area right here. And we'll go over the DD. We'll see how far north we can make it. I'm not really sure. We're at least going to go to Malk. We'll see how things play out, right? We'll see how things play out.
CSX. Equipment defect detector. Milepost 740.8.
So yeah, we ran the X001 out of Waycross to kind of dump some of that extra power off, and we sent it. It was sent to Birmingham. That's where we would take it. For a long time, the X001 was just run as a train all by itself. It was usually like 8 engines, I think, maybe sometimes 10, but I think it was 8 mostly. And yeah, we would run that. Now, sometimes if we would have crew shortages or congestion or something like that, which was pretty much a lot of the time later on before I left, they would take the X001. It was kind of weird. They would start it out as its own independent train out of Waycross, right? With a Manchester crew on it, with an I-1 pool on it. They'd run it north. They'd get it almost all the way to Manchester, and then they would take it and they combine it with another Birmingham side train. So they would put it on like a Q684. Let's see, what 124 was another one I had it on. Q180 was one that they put it on. So they would add it to another train, usually like around Malk. Sometimes Woodland, somewhere just outside of Manchester. Then the X001 crew would just finish deadheading the rest of the way to Manchester, and then we would take it in the train. So then we'd have a train of like 10 or 12 engines. So it's kind of weird how they did that, but just a little idea of how like they shuffled power because of the tonnage differences and stuff like that. All right, let's carry on. We got a 45 and 0.5 miles. That's not going to be a problem for us, I don't think.
Equipment defect detector. Milepost 740.8. No defects. Total axle 386. End of transmission.
There you go. All right, we're good. You're probably going to hear the alerter a little bit more on this section because we're just like in number 8, just letting it go, right? There's not a lot of throttle modulation or anything like that we got to worry about. We do have some more traffic out there. We at least got one more right now that's on the way. There'll probably be another one shortly after that, but that's all we got to worry about. All right, let's peek at the distant to Rupert here. See what it looks like. Got to clear. Okay, we got to clear Rupert. All right, so clear on the distance to Rupert, 544. All right. A little surprising. I thought they would have run us up the other main. Never know what Otto's going to do, right? All right, sweet. We'll carry on. Yeah, Rupert used to be a siding back in the day. Now, the interesting thing is, or the cool thing about it is, they did the double track from Rupert to Malk. They just had finished it before I hired out. It literally just been finished. But prior to that, Rupert was a siding. I think it was 7,000 and change, maybe something like that. And then the next siding you had was Brown Sand. So it was a pretty good stretch from Rupert all the way to Brown Sand where they didn't have a siding. They didn't have any kind of a siding. I think back in the steam engine days, Malk may have been a siding there. But during the later diesel times, I think it was more just like a storage track or something like that. There we go, through that crossing. Yeah, Malk to Dyson, or what am I saying? I don't even know what I'm talking about here. Rupert to Samalk is what is called the Georgia Fall Line for you guys that aren't familiar with it. It's basically a shift between the Piedmont geology, I guess, and the coastal plains. So the coastal plains kind of flatten out and become sandy, and the Piedmont's more rocky and rugged and mountainous, stuff like that. So it's basically a big drop off that goes across the entire width of the state, called the Georgia Fall Line. It's a few hundred feet drop, and that's what we're climbing. We'll start climbing that at basically at Rupert, and it'll pretty much be a 1% grade averaging out. It's a little less in some areas, you know, but for the most part it's 1%. All right, I will go ahead and count off that resume speed we just went by on the left there. But the green backside of the diamond board means resume speed, so it's basically maximum authorized speed for the line. For us, it's going to be 50 because we've got loads and empties and all that stuff. Probably not going to see 45. I'd be surprised if we did, but who knows? We might. All right, there we go. Got to clear Rupert. So CSX Q544 got clear by Rupert. 6503 north outs. There, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the climb just right up here. We're basically going to be hitting it about now. I think it's not quite as steep through Rupert here, but it's going to start picking up pretty quick. And as I was saying earlier, if you set your trains up correctly, the way they were in real life, it's really not that bad. If you're on a tonnage like a phosphate train, you'd be filling it through here. It would be it'd be grinding along pretty good, right? I'm going to think, I bet we could hit it about 30. I'm going to make that guess. That's just a wild guess for me. Maybe as low as 25, but I really kind of think around 30. Yeah, go across Mount Sinai Church Road here. It's cool seeing these road names now. When I worked the route in real life, I had no clue, guys. I couldn't tell you what road was what for the most part. I'm thinking this double track on the Fitz, that was probably one of the first big improvements they did on the route for a long time. They did a few things back then in the very early 2000s. They did this, and the other thing that I can think of is they did the double track from Hague down to Folkestone. All right, CSX Q544 got clear by the distant to Dyson. Yeah, they did the double track for you guys that run the routes in the A line. You know, if you're familiar with it, you know now it's double track from Hague down into Folkestone, right? Well, back in the day, it wasn't. It was single track. It was a single track line. You had a siding at Hague, and then it was single track to Folkestone, and then it went into the double track on the Nahuna sub. But I want to say they did that, or they were working on that while I was hired, while I was working. Seems like they were. Probably around 2002, maybe. Something like that. It's crazy the amount of money that they poured into this line. They've done a ton of improvements. Do you see on the grade percentage, we're still climbing. We're at a 0.92% right here. We're at 30 now. It may be a hair under. I don't think it's going to get any lower than 25. I could be completely wrong. Yeah, this stretch was a big operational challenge for them back in the day. One, because they had such a long stretch between Rupert and Brown Sand with no sidings, and then they had the big grade here, and you know, your northbound trains are kind of dragging up it a little bit. Especially your phosphate trains. I bet it'd take them a hot minute. It's about 7 miles. I think it's about 7 miles or roughly 1%, give or take. Yeah, we got up here at Dyson. The crossover at Dyson. Got to clear. CSX Q544. Got to clear Dyson. 6503 north outs. No, we need to clear that counter out. I completely forgot about that. You see we're up to about 0.98% now. It's a fun hill to go up and down. It is. It's really fun going down it on a coal train. You know, 12,000, 13,000 ton coal train. With 2 engines, it's a lot of fun. It's like going over a big waterfall, right? Now we're up to 1% through Dyson here. I think it may ease up a little bit on the other side of Dyson, just a hair. Looks like she's pretty well stabilized at 25, so I wasn't too far off. I said minimum of 20, or the slowest at 25, right? I was thinking it'd be a little bit faster than this, but let's do a little rail fanning real quick while we can. Let's go up here to it. Let's see. Let's go right here. Be good. This be a good spot. We hardly ever do this, right? Like we're too busy running. No ditch lights. It's going to be a pre-94 unit, right? I think they started adding ditch lights around 94, maybe a little like 93. 94-ish. It's weird. It was like ditch lights weren't a thing. I absolutely remember this because my dad and I used to go out rail fanning back then. It was like there were no ditch lights, and then in the blink of an eye, everything had ditch lights. It happened that fast. Nice. The GE chugging along. That sounded pretty good. Pretty sweet train, just a regular old slop train, right? Nothing special about it. You see the empty bulkheads, of course, going back north. All right, let's hop back in. Oh, come on. Why you do that to me? If someone left a suggestion in the comments, said, you know, F11 and F12, control F11 to get back in. It does it like it kicks me back out. I don't know why it does that. Like I can hit control F11 to get back in the cab and it'll kick me, it'll take me in for a split second, it'll kick me back out on the ground, and the only way I can get back in is if I hit shift F12 and then control F11 and then it'll put me back in the cab. So I don't know what's up with that. It's never done that before. Why it's doing that. All right, a little less than 25 actually, man. Still 1% grade. Yeah, we're still on it pretty good. Alright, we'll keep plugging along. You peek out the back here. That's pretty cool. That might actually make a pretty cool screenshot, right? This view we hardly ever see. Anyway, the comment about the, you know, boarding and getting off, I do appreciate that. All the comments, I really do appreciate all of them. Seems like a lot of people have been really enjoying it. So I definitely appreciate that. It helps a lot. Still a steady 1%, right? We'll have to take a phosphate train through here sometime. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think what I'm going to start doing, since we pretty much covered the route end to end, when we finish this up, right? When we go up to Gay, we'll pretty much have covered the entire route end to end. Probably at that point, what we'll do is we'll just take trains on like short segments of the route, and that'll just be the video, right? Like taking a phosphate train up the fall line, or you know, running 60 through Douglas or something like that. You know, we may start kind of breaking it up into just, instead of having it a series, it would just be one little video about something. And then we'll probably start working our way down south for you guys that haven't seen down that way. It'd be fun to do a pig from like Jacksonville to Fitz or Waycross or something like that. It's a completely different railroad down there. It really just is. Like, it's 70-mile-an-hour running. As I've said before, that's like my one big regret from what little bit of a railroad career I had, was that I didn't go down south. I did stand for that job occasionally, but I never actually went down there. Alright, should be the distant DeMalk here. Alright, CSX Q544 got clear on the distant DeMalk. 6503 north outs. It's gonna be trash dump right here. This switch off to the left. I know in one of the videos I talked about having to set some trash cars down in there one time. I was on a slop freight. I'd actually gotten pulled off the extra board. Or maybe it was a roster call because our extra board, yeah, I'm trying to think how did I wind up recrewing a job on the Fitz? I'm trying to think how that happened. It could have got me off the extra board if the Fitzgerald board was exhausted, right? But I really think they may have got me on a roster call. I think they got me on a roster call, and so I had to go down to Ideal to get this train that was dead. And we had cars to set out at trash dump. And I'd never been there before. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't covet, never talked about it, discussed it. I didn't even know that place was there. And so basically the gist of the story is I went through this whole ordeal to spot these trash cars up down inside there, where in reality all I had to do was just set them off on the lead, just clear the switch, right? I spotted them up. I didn't know. How was I supposed to know? No one told me anything, so those guys showed up to work that next morning. They're like, why is all this trash spotted up down here? Well, I did it for them. All right, grade slacked up a little bit on us, so we're up to 30 again. So I'm trying to think between Malk and Brown Sand, it's up and down. I'm trying to think of any major spots through there. It undulates a lot. I know there's going to be a good drop off as we go by the south end of Brown Sand. There's just going to kind of drop down into the siding, into the north end there. Right up through here, it should kind of level out a little bit or ease up even more. It's like a stair step. If you look at the profile, it's really steep, and then it almost kind of levels out, and then it finishes up at Malk. Someone left a comment about trying some other train sim stuff. I think they said something about Derail Valley. I'm open to trying other things. I'm a variety gamer. I love trying all kind of different games. This is what it's all about to me. The big problem I'm running into right now, guys, is that I almost have no hard drive space. Like, I'm literally having to uninstall games to play other games, which is something that I need to fix. I need to fix that. I need to at least add another hard drive to this computer at a minimum, or maybe see about another computer build or something like that. This one is what, 3 years old now, give or take. It's just the technology changes so much, it's kind of hard to keep up. All right, yeah, you see our grade flattened out here, so yeah, we're on that little stair step. Yeah, it's hard to keep up. Everything is changing so fast. It really just is. I remember the first computer I ever had with a terabyte of storage on it. I remember my dad telling me, he said, you will never use terabyte of storage. Boy, was he wrong. He was so wrong on that. I've got, let's see, 1, 2, what about 4 on this computer, and it's almost full. Which is just insane. 3 or 4, I can't remember how much it is. Once again, for those of you that don't know, I'm running a Ryzen 3700 2070 Super video card. It's nothing blazing fast, but it does all right. right, my friends, we're pretty much done with the big climb. It's going to level up here and then kind of go down a little. It's going to undulate a lot. So that is probably one of the longer stretches where you'll just put it in number 8 and let it do its thing. Clear by Malt Q544. Yeah, it's absolutely one of the few stretches where you'll do that. It's by far the longest continuous grade. There's other 1% grades. There's lots of 1% grades on here. But I think like the next longest ones are probably maybe 3 miles, something like that. I'm trying to think of the one going into Talbotton. That climb into Talbotton's probably 3 miles, give or take. If I'm remembering it correctly. All right, Georgia 90 once again. We see it several times. All right, track speed 50 will be good for 50 through brown sand, and then after that, I think we have a few speed reductions. I think we have what maybe a 45 and a 35, and then it gets progressively more and more the further north you go, right? And if you notice, it should be coming up along through here somewhere. One of the neat little details, you see we're on concrete ties right now, but they're going to change to wood cross ties a little further up here. It shouldn't be too much further. I have to kind of keep an eye out. I think we're going to go to brown sand. I think that's where we're going to end it up at. All right, coming through the big sag here. Well, throttle just a little bit. She's getting a little bit fast on us there. Not too bad. I have to grab a little air, honestly. There you go. Now she's slowing up on us. We power braking. It's not the end of the world. I know they say it is. They say it is now. They don't want anyone power braking. It's more about money than anything. Right? It's more about money than anything. It's more about that fuel savings. But as I've said in another video, I don't ever remember differentiating between stretch braking and power braking. It was just stretch braking back in the day, right? I don't remember any engineer talking about power braking. You know, it just grabbed air whenever they needed it. All right, got advanced approach. Nice. Advanced approach on a distant brown sand. Q544. So we're going to be stopping there anyway. We're going to be meeting someone. Works out perfect, right? Yeah, we keep rolling with it. But of course, advanced approach means we don't stop at the next signal, but the one after that, right? So I have an advanced approach, and then a stop. Yeah, this is a good train. This has been a really super good train to run. All right, got to approach north end or approach south end of Brown Sand. Spur's getting his directions mixed up here. Here we got big sand pits out here. I'm gonna use some dynamics on this since we're going to drop in. Now let's go ahead and set them up. Start gathering our slack a little bit here. So as you see, you look at it, it kind of drops down in there a little bit. That's a nice little climb coming out of the siding. Especially, yeah, if you're in the siding, you have to drag out of there at 25. It's a good little climb. Of course, got the storage track there, the Y. Storage track usually has rock cars in it. Those black CSX rock cars and the gray ones, and then the Y they used to load sand down there at the end of it. Used to be a loadout down there. I don't think there's anything down there in game, but yeah. Right, yeah, there is actually. Okay, that is an industry. Nice. Okay, yeah, there's a little loadout down there. Yep, there it is. That's cool. It was there, like it was. There was one there, and then it was taken out. It was like went out of business or whatever, and then it was back in. And yeah, let's go ahead and start slowing her down a little bit here. She got some good dynamics, man. Come on down. Alright, we'll ease on up there. Give this other guy time to get up here. Alright, I think that's good right there. I think we're meeting an auto rack train. I think this is going to be Q215 or Q213, one of the two. think we'll have to see about kind of pulling it on up here. A little slack run out there. All right, let's drag him on around there. I was trying to give this guy a little time to get down here and start getting in the siding, but looks like we may have to wait for a bit. Let's cheat and let's peek, see where he's at. Oh yeah, he's not too far away. He's not too far. He's between Junction City and here.
CSX.
There he is.
Equipment defect detector. Milepost 762.7.
There we go. He just hit the DD at Junction City. I'm drawing a complete blank right now too, guys. I can't remember where the signal is up here. If it's right around this curve or if it's on up a little bit or why. Like, I'm totally drawing a blank on it. I have a bad spot, right? It's a little bit of a bad spot here coming around on a stop. Hopefully we'll have a little reprieve before we come out of the curve and get up on it. I really can't remember. Lean over here. Okay, I see the tag, so we're okay, we're good. It's gonna be on up a little bit. Yeah, some of these places I draw a blank. I really do. Like, I don't remember. Really surprised he didn't put us in the hole. That way we could just clear up and this dude could just blow right on by us. Otto does all right. He's not the smartest dispatcher, but he does all right. See our horn down there in the shadow. There we are. All right, let's go ahead and grab some air. Is that him? Yeah, it is. That worked out pretty good. Not too bad. All right, yeah, this is going to be Q215 Jacksonville. It's loaded auto rack train. It's originated at a lot of different places, right? But I think at this time period, it was running Cincinnati to Jacksonville. And usually they would have a big cut of, I'll call them Talleyrand cars. They went to the port there in Jacksonville. Usually a lot of Hamburgs, just like this, stuff like that.
Equipment defect detector. Milepost 762.7. No defect.
Oh, we got down the wrong side of the train. He put us on the hot rail. Nice. That's pretty cool. I love it. I love railroading, guys. I never consider myself a railroader. I don't to this day. Even, you know, the few years that I did it back then, I don't consider myself a railroader at all. But I did enjoy the job. It was a lot of fun. When things were going good, it was great. It was a great job. There's nothing like just riding along like that through the countryside. There's a lot of other things that factor into it as far as like why I left, but the job itself was absolutely great. But pretty cool. Nice to be able to do it from the comfort of your home, right? You can stop and eat when you want. You can pee when you want. 215 would be a good one to run. If you guys want an idea for a train, try Q215. That one ran, I want to say it ran daily. It was a daily train. Sometimes they would run a Q245. That one ran from Detroit to Cincinnati, and I think that was basically the lead-in train for the Q215, right? And sometimes they would just continue the Q245 south all the way to Jacksonville. I don't know what like determined them doing that as opposed to like running a Q215. So sometimes you would see a Q245 and it would run, you know, Detroit to Jacksonville. But it was predominantly Q215 that I remember that did it. This was a southbound load, and then the Q213, I think that one went to Tampa. That was Tampa loads, and usually the 213 had the Tropicana cars on the bottom. Man, he's long. He's got a lot of train behind him. Yeah, he does. Holy cow. A little peek at it this way going away for us here. There's his bottom. Nice. All right, Q215 train looks good. Markers hanging over. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this one. We're going to end it here at Brown Sand, and then I think we're going to try to finish it completely in the next video. I think that's going to be my plan. Anyway, love all of you. Thank you so much for all the comments. I really do appreciate it, and we'll catch you on the rails next time. Peace.